Hi, everyone. You're listening to Radio Cherry Bombe, and I'm your host, Kerry Diamond, coming to you from Newsstand Studios at Rockefeller Center in the heart of New York City. I'm so happy to be back after a little hiatus. Happy New Year to everybody. And I am very excited about today's guest. It's Meredith Hayden of Wishbone Kitchen, one of the biggest culinary stars around right now. Meredith is a cookbook author, recipe developer, and private chef, known for her intuitive approach to home cooking. She and I cover a lot of ground. We talk about her debut cookbook, her birthday. Meredith is turning 30 this month. Happy birthday to our culinary Capricorn. We talk about her meal kit collab with the folks at Home Chef. And we talk about how Meredith almost worked at Cherry Bombe. Yes, I interviewed Meredith to be my assistant back in 2020. Stay tuned for my chat with Meredith Hayden. There's a lot going on at Cherry Bombe right now. We're working on this April's Jubilee Conference. Tickets are on sale. Also, Cherry Bombe is on Substack. I think most of you know that. Substack is a great platform where you can find lots of terrific writing. We have a few different newsletters you can subscribe to on Substack. You can find recipes from your favorite cookbook authors and fun stuff like Cherry Bombe magazine cover stories. Right now, we have the cover stories live from our current cake issue. Read about Lucy Fron de Ferrier, Amy France, and Amy Yip. There's plenty of free content on our Substack, but you can also subscribe for $6 a month or $55 a year and access all the content, plus our virtual member meetings and discounts to things like Jubilee tickets. Visit cherrybombe.substack.com. Now, let's check in with today's guest. Meredith Hayden, welcome to Radio Cherry Bombe.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
How were your holidays?
They were great. This was my first year hosting Christmas for my family, which is a big step. I'm sad it's over.
Aw, I met your parents. I loved your parents. Yeah. Are you hosting a lot of people or just your immediate fam?
Just my immediate family. So my parents, my brother, and my sister-in-law.
And your puppy.
And my puppy, of course.
Of course.
My parents' dog.
So it's your parents' dog?
My parents' dog is Millie.
Okay.
And she is a 7-year-old Bernice.
Oh, right. But you've got your dog.
Poppy, who just turned 1.
So Poppy and Millie will be there. Looking back at 2025, I'm curious, you had so many highlights, but if you had to pick one, what would the biggest highlight have been?
You know, if I had to pick one, not necessarily moment, but achievement, I would say my cookbook and just the success of the book. I poured so much energy and love into that book and really didn't know if it was going to be a success or not. You know, there's no telling what is going to translate into real life book sales. So to have seen the enthusiasm from my audience and then also people who maybe have just met me for the first time was really relieving. And it just reminded me that I'm right where I need to be. For that to have happened right after my knee surgery was also, it gave me a little bit of hope and it helped get me through those last few months of physical therapy, just seeing everybody's reaction to the book and cooking my recipes at home. It was really special.
Well, you have such a passionate audience. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised to hear that even you were worried about putting a cookbook out into the world.
I mean, it's hard because I've never worked as a recipe developer under, whether it's a media company or under another editor. So this was my first time publishing recipes at such a scale. And I, don't have recipe development training or experience necessarily. And a lot of the meals that I would cook as a private chef weren't recipes. They were just like using intuition. And so I spent a lot of time making sure that the recipes would yield the outcome that I and my readers would want. I never want to put my readers in a box and make sure that everything's dumbed down and simplified, but I also want to be able to push them to try new things, whether it's new techniques or new ingredients. And so it's really just about striking a balance of approachable, but also feeling fresh and new.
You also love seasonal. I mean, that's how a lot of us fell in love with you. You were out shopping the farmers markets, and it was like you lived in Paris or something. You were shopping every day.
Yes, I was definitely at the farm stand every day. I think working as a private chef out here forced me to cook seasonally because when you go to a farm stand, you're not going to find out of season products. I mean, sometimes they'll stock it with, the bare necessities, but having only shopped in grocery stores prior, it was really inspiring to see such bounty of seasonal produce. And I liked the challenge of trying to figure out how to incorporate that into my menus.
What was the best thing you ate in 2025?
I was in Florence back in October, and I went to this restaurant, Vini Vecchi, which is, I think everyone that I talked to with Florence recommendations recommended this restaurant. We ordered every pasta on the menu, and they were all so fabulous and so amazing. That entire meal, I think that was like my favorite meal that I had. The pasta with the red sauce. I remember when I had ordered all the pastas, my waiter was like, oh, you don't need to get that one. Like, you can make that at home. But pasta with red sauce is like my favorite food. And I actually ordered it every single time we went out to dinner just so I could see how different restaurants were preparing it and sort of compare. And this one was my favorite. It was super simple. They use this noodle in Tuscany. Starts with a P. It's almost like a bucatini, but with no hole. It's like a thick, round spaghetti, almost like an udon noodle, just super chewy. And that pasta specifically was quite delicious.
Oh, it sounds so good. What goes through your mind? Because I imagine you're thinking, like, how do I replicate this? Are you typing things into your notes app? Do you bring a little notebook with you? Do you just store it all in your brain?
I have a little notebook.
There's the notebook.
I actually got this while I was in Florence. I have very bad ADHD. I was diagnosed when I was like 12 years old, and I've just been struggling. There's something about ADHD and notebooks where every single person I've ever talked to says that they have, like a million different notebooks.
Welcome to the club.
I'm still on the quest to just like have one notebook instead of having 5 million different ones for a million different things. But I think getting this tiny one for food specifically, so I can write recipes, like this was a Thanksgiving menu, and just jotting down ideas randomly throughout the day has been super helpful.
I'm sure there are a lot of our listeners nodding in agreement. I was at a recording studio yesterday that we do some work with, and the of the studio, he was like, oh, I have a little gift for you for holidays, but it's a notebook, and I see you already have a notebook. And I was like, babe, I can never have enough notebooks.
Oh, literally. Never enough.
And Florence is hard because there's so much beautiful paper goods and so many beautiful notebooks over there.
I know. Well, I'm now sad because, of course, the second I started writing this, I was like, I need more just so that when I run out, I can have it again. And, of course, they don't sell online, so I'll have to go back to Florence.
You have to go back, unfortunately. Crack the code on that pasta?
No, I haven't attempted, but I did sort of come to the conclusion that in Italy, I find that in recipes in the States, most recipes that I've used have called for whole canned tomatoes. There's the understanding that the less processing that's happening in the factory, the better the quality will be of the tomatoes in the can. So I've never really gotten tomato puree. I think that product, tomato puree, is more popular for like a simple red sauce than canned tomatoes. And I don't know that for certain. I'm literally just guessing based on the texture, because I was sent a bunch of PR, can't remember who it was, but in the PR was tomato puree, which I never use because I've been under the understanding that if they're pureeing the tomatoes, it's not going to be good. But it was amazing. It was fabulous. Just tomato puree and some butter and probably some allium of sorts. And I feel like that's probably a good starting point.
You know what else I have to send you if you haven't made it already? Marcella Hazan's tomato sauce. Her famous one with the onion and the butter.
I've never made it, but I have the image of the 2 onion halves and the stick of butter in the tomato pot just like ingrained into my memory.
She was so badass. Are you a resolutions girly?
I am not. So my birthday is in January, and I have a very different mindset entering the month than I feel like most people. Most people after New Year's Eve are like, okay, celebrating is done. I now need to lock myself into my home and deprive myself of all joy for the sake of self-improvement, quote unquote. I have always approached the new year with a feeling of how can I make my life better, whether it's improving a morning routine or improving a little corner of the house that is neglected, or what hobbies have I been neglecting? Is there something in my personal health journey that needs tending to, whether it's finally making that doctor's appointment or staying active? I think when it comes to resolutions, I always just have an overall goal for myself. And for the past few years, it's been to work on my work-life balance.
How's that going?
It's the third year of being my resolution, so obviously not that great. But I have hope. I think this might be my year. I'm turning 30 in January, and I think maybe it'll be my time.
All right. Are you an Aquarian?
I am a Capricorn.
You're Capricorn. Okay. I don't know too much about Capricorns.
Capricorns are stubborn and career driven and, your typical earth sign. If you know the description of a Taurus, that's very, very similar to a Capricorn. Okay. And I'm Taurus rising or Taurus moon or whatever. So
we'll be right back with today's guest. If you love print magazines, be sure to check out Cherry Bombe's latest issue. It's all about cake, and we have 3 different covers and 3 different cover stars: Amy France, Amy Yip, and Lucy Franc de Ferrière. They're all incredible talents and self-taught. Read about them, check out all the recipes from the coolest new cookbooks, plus features, party pages, and more. You can subscribe at cherrybombe.com or pick up a copy at one of our favorite stockists. Places like Broken Tart in Oak Park, Illinois, East Elm Kitchen Company in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and Ladybird Books in Charleston. I just visited Ladybird in December and am obsessed. It's such a beautiful new bookstore. For more, visit cherrybombe.com. I want to know a little bit about how Wishbone Kitchen came about, especially the name.
So growing up, my mom would make a roast chicken for us every week. And when carving the roast chicken, she would set aside the wishbone. And then after dinner, while we were cleaning up, we had a ritual of holding the wishbone, each of us one end, pulling it apart. Whoever gets the larger half gets to make a wish. So when I was coming up with a name for my, at the time, private chef business, I kept coming back to that moment in my home kitchen and growing up, because throughout culinary school and my time in restaurants, I really discovered my true passion lied with home cooking rather than professional restaurant cooking. And so I always wanted to have that sort of thread of home cooking in the ethos of my brand. And of course, it started out as just a private chef business, and now it's something completely different, but I think it still reigns true.
Did you cook much when you were younger?
Yeah, my mom was an amazing home cook, and I was always looking over her shoulder and bothering her with questions in the kitchen. I think the first thing I learned how to cook was pancakes. I begged my mom to buy me those like Betty Crocker sugar cookie mixes and all sorts of things that, were easy for me to play with. And I would start customizing them and adding a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But I don't think I started seriously cooking until high school, maybe. But I've always been a nosy in the kitchen.
What was your specialty in high school?
My favorite food, and still to this day, spaghetti and meatballs. That's always like when I'm cooking, that's one of the first recipes my mom taught me how to make. It's always a crowd pleaser. And then the other dish that I was obsessed with in high school was risotto. I thought if I want to be a serious chef, I have to learn how to make risotto. And
isn't it funny? There's something so magical about risotto when you're younger, when you nail it.
I'm pretty sure I just spent too much time watching Top Chef, and they like to villainize risotto and make it sound like this crazy sort of elusive thing. And so I taught myself how to make it. I honestly haven't made it in a really long time. I need to revisit that.
I have not made risotto in 100 years. What's the secret to a Meredith meatball?
This is actually a tip I learned from an Ina meatball recipe that my friend had made for a group of us one night. I was like, oh my God, these meatballs are amazing. You have to give me the recipe. And it was Ina's recipe. She sautés her onions and then deglazes with red wine, reduces the red wine, and then those onions soak up all of that wine flavor. I love wine in food. I think that a splash of white or red wine can elevate practically any dish. I can't think of one thing it wouldn't. And so that little tip of softening the onions so they're not just chunks of raw onion and adding the wine, I think really add a depth of flavor that I miss with other meatballs.
Well, so hence your love of risotto. More than a splash of wine.
Of course.
Exactly.
I always double the wine in my risotto too.
Have you spent any time with Ina?
I have not. I've not met her. We have not crossed paths.
What about Martha? Have you spent time with Martha?
I've met her once and I've gone to a few events that she's at. I'm a very shy person. It's funny because I feel like I have this sort of outgoing personality online, but when it comes to being in spaces with all of these people that I consider my mentors, virtual mentors, I get very shy. And it wasn't until the third time I was at an event that Martha was at where my friend was like, "You're being ridiculous. You have to go say hi to her." And I was like, "I'm not doing it. I'm so scared. I can't. It's not the right moment. My hair is too frizzy. Maybe next time, blah, blah." And she went over and told Martha's PR person that I was here. And they were like, "Oh my gosh, they have to meet." And they had to physically push me because I was so nervous. But yeah, we chatted for a few minutes and she was very lovely.
Yeah, Martha is very Martha. Do you relate more to Martha or to Ina?
I would say both for different reasons. I think my approach to cooking is a bit more like Ina in she is always thinking of the experience of preparing a recipe, whether it be making it as simple as possible and cutting out any extra steps that aren't necessary. Whereas I think Martha loves those opportunities to make things just a little bit more complicated to be 2% better, which I love her for. But I think when it comes to my approach in terms of home and hosting, I feel a bit more like Martha in that my attention to detail definitely comes out in those areas compared to cooking. I'm a bit looser in the kitchen.
Okay. Let's jump ahead to your time at Vogue. Were you on the partnership side or marketing? What were you doing at Vogue?
Yes. So I started as a sales associate on the beauty industry team. And if anyone from Condé is listening, they are going to know exactly the time, the era of which I started. This was 2018. That beauty industry team basically covered sales and marketing for all of the different Condé verticals. Then there was a reorg, and that's when I was plopped into the beauty team at Vogue, Vanity Fair, Glamour, Allure, GQ, all of the lifestyle brands. And yeah, we dealt with a lot of selling pages in magazines, but then also selling pre-roll on YouTube, selling posts on social media. And it's funny because a lot of that experience has informed what I do now because I'm almost doing the same thing, but just from a different perspective when it comes to Wishbone Kitchen. I've had the honor of working with all these incredible brands and using that to sort of fuel projects like my cookbook. And it's been a really, really great experience.
Yeah, I'm sure Vogue was like grad school to an extent.
Yes, 1,000%.
Did you get to see much of the Devil Wears Prada part of it? I think by 2018 that didn't exist that much.
No, I definitely got, let's just say that movie is not embellished.
I saw it with my friend Laura, and we were sitting there, and 10 minutes into the movie, she turns to me and she's like, "I didn't know this was a documentary."
No, literally, one of my favorite stories. And it's funny because I do love everybody I worked with. And this is an isolated story, but it makes me laugh because in the moment I was laughing because I was like, this is so ridiculous. I was running out to get someone coffee, and they said that they wanted their latte to be exactly 112 degrees. And she said it and giggled because she knew it was ridiculous, but that was, I guess, her way of communicating, please make this extremely hot. And I do kind of understand, when you're having a long day and you really need your coffee and you're physically incapable of making it on your own, if someone could bring it to you and make it just the way you would make it, that's sort of the ideal scenario. So I just went to Pret and I was like, "Can you just make this the hottest latte you've ever made in your entire life, please?"
Wait, this might be a dumb question, but I owned a coffee shop. And I don't know how you would make coffee any hotter than it already is.
So, yeah.
So when people say they want it extra hot, I'm like, yeah, sure.
They not only steamed the milk and had the hot coffee, but then I had them put the steamer in the latte itself I don't know.
Clearly, I was not the barista at my own coffee shop, but I did work the register. You did interview to work at Cherry Bombe.
I did.
Was that during the pandemic?
Yes.
Yeah. Aren't you glad you didn't get that job? Now you're a superstar.
Well, I was going to say, you did me a favor. No, my old boss, Angela Rayner, who was the owner and head honcho over at the Pearl and Boarding House in Nantucket. She recommended that I apply. That was during the depths of 2020 where no one was really hiring and everything was so bleak, especially with media. In a lot of ways, all of me getting laid off from my job at Vogue and me getting rejected from all of those different media outlets just forced me to make Wishbone Kitchen work. And so if I wasn't in a situation where I had no other options, I don't think I would have been able to build the brand that I have now. I think, desperation can bring out a lot of creativity.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that was such a tough time for media. Everything was remote. Ugh. Let's talk about something more optimistic. You worked in restaurants in Nantucket. You mentioned Angela, who we love so much. Did you ever work back of house? Were you always front of house?
I was front of house at the Pearl. That was my first food job. I was a hostess at both restaurants. After I had gone to culinary school and worked in a restaurant in New York City, I came back and staged at the Pearl, and that was great. But beyond that, no, I didn't have any back of house experience at Nantucket restaurants specifically.
Do you ever want to open a restaurant?
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, maybe. I think the whole reason why I wanted to get into private chef work was to be my own boss and have flexible schedule. And my whole reason behind wanting to get out of private chef work and into recipe developing and cookbook developing has been so that I can spend weekends, nights, and holidays with my family. And when you have a restaurant, your restaurant is your family. And while I think it would be extremely exciting and fun, I just don't think the restaurant lifestyle is something that I would enjoy long term.
Mm-hmm. You have to love it to be in it.
Yeah.
As I learned.
Grueling.
Do you come to the city much? Do you have favorite restaurants here?
Yeah. So I'm half and half based out east and in the city. I honestly have not been to a ton of restaurants over the past few years because I'd been so laser focused on the cookbook. But recently I've popped into Teresi, fully expecting it to be gimmicky and overrated. And it was probably one of the best meals I've had in the city. The staff was just so locked in. They were the perfect amount of helpful. They weren't hovering, but they also didn't let 15 minutes go by without checking and seeing if we needed anything. And the food was just delicious and executed perfectly.
Okay, good review. Let's talk about your collab with Home Chef.
Yeah.
How did this come about?
Yeah, so they approached me, and what's funny is I have a deep appreciation for meal kit services because I used one back when I was in college. I was out in Clemson, South Carolina. I was a foodie and really excited about trying new recipes and, being in my first apartment and having my first kitchen. But the availability of ingredients was not the best, and I didn't have a car to drive myself to the grocery store. So I found that meal kit delivery services were the perfect solve for that. At first, I thought it was great just to get my groceries delivered, but then I realized how just simplifying the process of measuring out the ingredients and giving you, everything you need. You don't have to think twice about it. And, the recipe cards that have all the photos it just makes it so much easier to approach a new recipe that you haven't never tried before, whether it's a new technique that feels intimidating or a new ingredient that feels intimidating. It really just makes the entire process feel much more digestible and much more approachable. When they approached me to do a collab, I was immediately on board. I had a surplus of recipes that I thought would be perfect for the partnership. And we sort of went through all those recipes and figured out which ones would be translated the best into the Home Chef formula. And I think we came up with a really incredible list of about 8 recipes.
Tell us some of the highlights.
Yeah. So my personal favorite is the Parmesan chicken.
Oh, Bridget on our team made that and loved it.
Yeah. It's inspired by one of my favorite recipes that I've developed, my grilled chicken parm. Because breading a cutlet is not necessarily weeknight friendly. It kind of brings you the flavors of chicken parm without the cleanup and the hassle. That's one of my favorites. And then the mahi mahi tacos, I think, especially for the timing of this partnership, because it's going to be out mid-January through a few weeks of February. I think we're all kind of exhausted by cozy stews, and sure, there's still room for it, but something like a mahi mahi with citrus salsa verde brightens up your plate, and winter is citrus season, so it's a nice reminder to embrace all of the different citrus.
I do love citrus season so much, and the more citrus recipes, the better. And you also bring up such a good point. For folks who've never cooked from meal kits, they really are like a culinary school in a box. Because if you're not really comfortable or an instinctual cook the way you are, you don't always know what half a teaspoon looks like or feels like, or, Ina's classic, an eighth of a teaspoon of salt, what is an eighth of a teaspoon of salt? And you really learn, you also get an appreciation for mise en place, and you get an appreciation for timing, which is something that bedevils me constantly in the kitchen. It's like, oh God, I didn't start boiling the water in time. But I love that start this, do that, and it all magically is done at the end.
I think cooking can be very overwhelming, even as somebody who cooks a lot themselves, and just taking that sort of task out of the equation in terms of measuring is a total game changer.
Was it fun to have to break down your recipes and think about them in a different way?
Yeah, it felt like solving a puzzle. I was given the master list of ingredients in the Home Chef kitchen, and it was so fun to figure out what recipes would be improved by different ingredients and what recipes, were even possible. And those ingredients ended up inspiring new recipes or just new ways of interpreting pre-existing recipes. It was a fun puzzle for sure.
Well, I'm excited to see the whole lineup. Let's talk about you a little bit more. Are you good at trusting your gut?
I think I'm getting better at it. I think that might have been why I was so nervous about the cookbook, is I had a lot of moments in the process where veterans in the industry would point me in one direction and my gut told me to go in a different direction. Luckily, I had the most amazing editor, Molly, who trusted my gut more than I did. I think that just comes with time and it comes with age. I'm hoping to be able to trust myself more and more every day, but I wouldn't say in this moment right now that I wholeheartedly always trust my gut. I'm still a little nervous.
Do you have folks who help you make decisions when you have because you have big decisions and big business decisions that you have to make on a regular basis?
I mean, I have my amazing manager, Allie, who's been in the business for a decade, probably more than a decade. But when it comes to big career decisions that are also life decisions, I have my dad, weigh in. And those are, my two major cornerstones when it comes to advice. I think that's the unfortunate part of being a content creator, is that it is fully uncharted territory and none of us really know what we're doing. And there is no playbook. There is no, if you do X and you do Y, then you'll get Z. It's a lot of just being okay with the uncertainty.
How are you handling your social media responsibilities? Are you doing less these days? Are you doing more on social media?
It feels like I'm doing less, but I guess I am technically doing more in that I'm posting a bit more frequently. If you were to compare how often I was posting 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was probably only like twice a week. And I think that's come with just sort of embracing my platform as an extension of myself rather than exclusively a resource for recipes. And so I've started to sort of put more of my life into my content, whether it's home updates or getting my dog or, this is what I had for dinner tonight and I don't have a recipe for it. And it's actually really depressing and sad, but I think that a lot of people will resonate with this kind of meal. And so I'm going to share it anyway. I think that's been a really fun sort of journey I've been on with social media, is not taking it so seriously and so strict and just showing up as myself.
I don't know if you ever look back at your early videos, but what's different from the ones you make now and the ones you made in the early days?
Well, this year specifically with my knee surgery, I have not been able to be on my feet cooking for 17 hours straight like I was as a private chef. And so naturally, I have not been putting out as much vlog style content because I was on a couch for the first 4 or 5 months of the year. So I definitely focused on putting recipes first during that time and focusing on simple recipes and talking about things that brought me joy because, you know, we all go through slumps with cooking, whether it be because of an injury or because you're moving or whatever. And something that was bringing me a lot of joy during that time was fashion and design. So I definitely started posting more of my outfits and photos of my interiors, whether it's my apartment or my house. You know, dipping my toe into those categories has been fun.
If you could go back in time for a meal or into the future for a meal, which would you pick? And when would you want to go? What time period?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. I think I'd love to go back in time to like a very remote area of Italy before social media, before phones, before television, before Wi-Fi, and just really immerse myself in no-nook style cooking. I think that I always go back to that sort of mentality when it comes to home cooking. I think that that would be a really fun experience.
No phones. Exactly, right? And you know what? We kind of glossed over the fact that you're turning 30. That's such a big milestone.
Oh, thank you.
Are you doing anything special to celebrate?
Yes, I am going to Japan for 2 weeks. My first.
Oh, how amazing. Are you going by yourself or are you going with friends?
No, I'm going with my boyfriend.
Oh, very exciting.
Yes. We're doing Tokyo and Niseko, which is up in the mountains, and Kyoto, and then Tokyo again. But we've left some days unaccounted for so we can, you know, see where the trip takes us.
Nice. And what food are you most excited about trying?
Honestly, the ramen. I know, you know, the sushi is fabulous and I can't wait to try, but I've always been intrigued by the ramen process and how seriously they take it over there. I'm also super excited for a 7-Eleven egg salad sandwich.
Did you hear they're selling them here now?
Yeah.
In New York? I'm like, I don't believe it.
I think that is going to take a little long. I'm going to wait for the rollout to kind of like when a new iPhone comes out. I'm waiting for them to like get the bug kinks out of the process before I personally try it.
There's a 7-Eleven right by our office, and I'm going to pass it on the way back. I'm going to duck in, and I'm going to see, are they selling this famous egg sandwich yet? So you might have to try it before you go, and then try it when you're there.
I honestly love a 7-Eleven, and I pass on and stop in every single time I'm going.
All right. So you check, I'll check. We'll see what the deal is. Okay, speed round. What beverage do you start your day with?
An energy drink, Celsius.
Celsius, got it. Any coffee?
Not right now.
Okay. Tea? None of that.
I go through phases. I do like coffee and I like tea, but if I'm being completely honest, for every morning for the past year, it's just been Celsius.
Okay. A cookbook you love. Doesn't have to be like your absolute favorite. Just one you love and reference a lot.
Ooh, that's tough. I'm like trying to look at.
Do you have a lot of cookbooks?
Yes, I have a large library of cookbooks. Honestly, it sounds cliche, but all of Ina's books, mostly because my mom has them all. And they've always just been on display in my house. And, you know, we pull them out on a yearly basis.
I love all Ina's books. I have them all together in my bookshelf. And it makes me happy when I see that collection. Okay, most used kitchen tool.
My microplane.
Always in your fridge.
Parmesan cheese.
Favorite snack food.
An apple and a perfect bar, which is like a peanut butter protein bar. I don't know if you've heard of these. They're so good. The salted caramel flavor.
And do you have them together?
Yes. Okay. So like kind of like apples and peanut butter, but not.
Okay. I do love apples and peanut butter. What are you streaming these days?
What am I streaming? I just started watching Yellowstone. I'm behind, I know, but it's fabulous.
I'm so behind. I haven't seen Yellowstone. I haven't seen Landman, however they pronounce that.
Yeah.
What are you listening to? There's so much good music right now.
A lot of Sabrina Carpenter. Love her. And then I have my like 70s rock dad playlist that I like to throw on.
Do you have a favorite food smell?
Definitely just garlic sauteing in butter.
That's a perfect one. Favorite food film?
I would say Chef or Burnt or Julie and Julia.
Oh, that's a good one.
I think that one's my favorite.
Okay. All right, last question. Meredith, if you had to be trapped on a desert island with one food celebrity, who would it be and why?
owe Martha because she could build us a house. Seriously, she could build us a house. She knows how to do everything.
Martha will take care of you.
Exactly.
Meredith, what a treat to get to talk to you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you.
That's going to be a lot of fun. We can't wait to follow your travels in Japan. And we're super excited to check out more from the Home Chef collab.
Yes, thank you so much.
That's it for today's show. Our first episode of 2026 in the books. Thank you to Meredith Hayden for joining me. Don't forget, tickets for Jubilee 2026 are on sale. Our cake issue is out right now, and we have some great things planned for the new year. So stay tuned. Our theme song is by the band Tra La La. Joseph Hazen is a studio engineer for Newsstand Studios. Our producers are Catherine Baker and Jenna Sadu. Our executive assistant is Bridget Pittman. And our head of partnerships is Rachel Close. Thanks for listening, everybody. You're the bomb.